Okay, watching this video, fixing your mistakes, and writing down the 5 words to show me that you listened will get you full credit. So here we go. This one where I'm evaluating, you had to take this -3 and plug it in for x. So the way I show this is f of -3 is 5 times that -3. I put that -3 right there where x used to be, and I'm going to times that. 5 times -3 gives me -15, and then with that -4, it gives me f of -3. Make sure you write that equals -19. So that's the entire answer I'm looking for. That f of -3 equals -19. Make sure you write both of that. This next one, you're taking this value and plugging it into the D spot, not into the X spot. First word is gray. Gray. Thanks for listening. So to show this one, you show C when D is 5. I put the 5 right there, is 24 plus for this one. I put the number that I'm timesing right here next to that 20. And for this problem, I leave that 24 alone. Never would I add that in 21st. I do the timesing first and get 100. And then that tells me that C5, or when D is 5, I get 124 following order of operations. So be careful. Looks like some of you plussed before you times. Never do that. All right, next problem, graphing using only the x and y intercept. So this number right here tells you where on the y-axis to put your first coordinate. That's the y-axis. This is the x-axis. So put my first point on 6 on that y-axis. And then technically with my pen on that point, now I look at this -3 number, which is my slope. And remember, slope written as a fraction, that -3, which is always over 1, tells me from that blue dot on 6, every time I go over 1 grid, I'm going to go down 3. Right 1, down 3. That's where my next point goes. Right 1, down 3. But if you look at this problem, they don't want you to keep going on this line either or both direction. They want you to graph only the x and y intercepts. So that means the only points I want to draw on this graph, even though every single one of those points on this graph is perfect, the only points I want to graph are this one and this one right here. All the other ones I need to delete. So I'm going to try to delete all those coordinates if I could. All those extra coordinates have to go. I only want to plot 2 coordinates. So it looks like the first coordinate is on 6. The second coordinate, after I do a couple of over 1 down 2s, is on +2 on the x-axis. If I draw that line, I'm going to draw a straight line through only those 2 points. I'm going to make sure that my line has arrows on either side of my line. Make sure my line goes through my points accurately. All right, next word is whale. Whale. Thanks for listening. But there it is. That's the y-intercept at 0, 6. That's the x-intercept at 2, 0. Y-intercept, x number is always 0. The x-intercept, the y number is always 0. Something we're going to have you eventually memorize. All right, next, if I'm looking at these, if I'm looking at 2 positive infinity, let me show you the ones that are no good and the ones that are good. This first one, starting at 0 on the x-axis. Again, it looks like it's 2, but this one's really 0 infinity because it's starting at 0 on the x-axis. You don't look at that y-axis number, so that one's no good. This one, since it starts at 2, that's perfect. That's square bracket 2, and then this is going to the right. It looks like negative infinity, but anything measured left to right going to the right, positive infinity. So you can see, even though for this one, the arrow is going down, that one does match to positive infinity. A lot of people forget that one because they think, oh, this is negative infinity, but it's not positive infinity. This guy right here, because this is open, would be open rounded on 2. And again, since this is square, that one does not work. I need it to be square. All right, let's keep going. This guy, I'm looking at it, is going to the left. It's stopping at 2, but remember, because of this arrow, this is really negative infinity all the way to 7, so not even close. This guy right here, starting at 2 on the x-axis, going to the right would be square to positive infinity. So there is the second answer. There's going to be 2 answers to this. And then this guy right here, starting at 2, going to the left, that would be negative infinity, 2 square backwards. So that one does not work. Only the top right and bottom left. All right, moving on. Next word is black. Thanks for listening. All right, for these, domain is measured left to right using the X numbers. And then interval notation, that's if it's square or rounded. So here we go. Domain looks like it's starting at -6. That's going to be -6 square because that's not an opening. And then since this arrow is going to the right, even though it's going down, for domain, positive infinity rounded. For the range, you're looking at the Y numbers. But since there's no bottom to this, that's why we write this one as rounded negative infinity all the way up here to 3 square on the x-axis. All right, for this guy, increasing intervals, we would like you just to write this as one increasing interval because each of those stretches is increasing. Even though this is increasing steeper than this, they're all increasing. And again, I look at these numbers on the x-axis. I use that and write that x in the middle. Always intervals using x's. And then my inequalities always overlap this way because there's no openings here. I'm going to put my lines, and then I take that -9, and then I write that as -3. We don't really want you to break that up into 2 sections because they're both going uphill right there. Decreasing, I do have 2 sections. I'm going to break up into 2 separate parts, those 2. So again, looks like from -3 to 2 is one section that's going downhill, and then from 5 to 8, I'm looking at those x-axis numbers to describe my boundary there. So here we go. For this one, decreasing, it's going from -3, again, inequalities overlapping with those lines because nothing open, from -3 all the way to +2, and then the other one, my x inequalities always overlap in this way, my 2 numbers from 5 to 8. So those are the 2 stretches where it's going downhill. The 2 parts is going, or the 1 part going uphill altogether from -9 to 3. The maximum is the highest point of the data. There's nothing higher than that. That is the maximum. And once you find it, you describe it as a rounded normal XY coordinate. So that would be left 3, up 6. So my maximum written as a coordinate rounded, -3 is my X number, 6 is my Y number written as a normal coordinate. The minimum is this point right here, the lowest point. And again, you write that as a rounded XY coordinate. So that point would be going over 8, down 3, right 8, down 3. That is the minimum. The X number is 8. The Y number is -3, written as a rounded coordinate. All right, next for this domain are the X numbers, all these X numbers. So it looks like 2, 3, 4, 5 written in a row. Those are my domain for those 4 coordinates that I see up here. Those are the 4 x numbers. That's domain. So 2, 3, 4, 5. If I do range, range are the y numbers for those. So it looks like, looking at my scale, going up 5, 10, 15, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. It looks like my y numbers for that first one, 5 right here. My second one, 10. My third one, 20. And my fourth one, 35. I'm getting that from the y numbers. All right, here we go. The function test. All you need to do is look at my x numbers. If none of those repeats, function. But as soon as you see one of those x numbers repeat and give you a different y number, that's a bad function. Again, look at these x numbers. If none of those repeat, it doesn't matter what the other ones are. That's money. Look at these x numbers. If none of those repeat, it's a function. But if you do see a couple repeat, no good. Look at those x numbers. Look at those x numbers. If none of those repeat, like this one, none of those are the same. Opposites are not the same. Money. And now it wants you to pick a bad one and write in a complete sentence. So you could say, the first one is bad because 1 gives a 2, and then 1 gives a 3, or something like that. Tell me how for that input number, that x number, I got spit out 2 different y numbers. Or you could say the third one's not good because that same 6 gave me 2 different outputs. One 6 is a 1, the second 6 is a 2. So again, you're going to have to explain in a complete sentence kind of what you're looking at. So again, another sentence I could have said to maybe make this one a little clearer. I could say, the third one is bad because, and then give me the 2 coordinates because of 6, 1 and 6, 2. Maybe you tell me something like that. Tell me that you know it's because of those 2 coordinates is bad. The same x number spit out 2 different y numbers. All right. Second to last word is bird. Bird. All right, here we go. On these, if it's dividing or timesing, that is geometric. This first one here, I could see they're not going up by the same amount. This is going down by a huge amount, and then this is going up, so it's not adding or subtracting. It looks like I'm dividing by 2. 180 divided by 2 is 90. But remember, folks, we show dividing by 2 as timesing by a half. But again, as soon as you see that it's not going up by the same amount, it's probably going to be geometric, going to be multiplying, going to be one of these curvy graphs. If it's something like this that I could see is clearly changing by the same number each time, this makes this one linear. That's going to make this one a straight line. That's what you need to know. For these, if I have a curvy line, exponential. So this first one, exponential, because it's curvy. It's not linear. Exponential. This one is straight, linear. So again, if it's straight, linear. If it's curvy, exponential. If it's straight, linear, arithmetic. If it's curvy, that's geometric, exponential. And then you could tell by these, if you have x in the little tiny exponent spot, that's for sure exponential. That's going to be one of those graphs that's curvy because you keep timesing by a lot. And then this guy right here, if you have just a normal x, that is linear. Linear, that's going to be a straight line going up by 2 each time. Linear. All right, last word is dog. Show me that work and the 5 words. I'll give you full credit. Good luck. Good job.